development, one word: Machiavelli, or Madoff, or Richie Daley, or any Clint Eastwood character. Bandura wrote, "Human agency does not come with a built-in value system." We don't want kids to develop agency without having comparable other skills. I wanted to add one other qualification from a Hindu sage. I'm not sure where I got this, but beware the black snake of doing. Many cultures recognize that doing, that is pursuing goals, can be a trap or an illusion. So indeed, there are multiple domains of positive development, and Rich Lerner and Jackie Eccles and others have listed them. And this is really another form of complexity for adolescent development, is balancing these, because you don't want to have too much of one without the others, at the cost of the others. So in concluding, I'm going to give you 6 points that I think bridge across the different domains of positive development. And some of these issues go way back, and I'll be done in about 5 minutes. So point 1, even as we learn more about the biological hardware of development, it's essential that we study the conscious software that youth develop. Descartes' dualism is dead. After 500 years of mind-body debate, we understand these two go hand in hand. As imperfect as the conscious mind is, it's the center of human knowledge and action. And adolescence is a time when these new executive skills open up enormous possibility for expanding the critical nature of knowledge and action. Indeed, youth in research on social, religious, civic development describe youth developing new insights, ways of thinking, and motives they didn't know were possible before. I don't know about you, but this is why I went into adolescence many years ago, was that I saw as a time of exciting awakenings and epiphanies. 2, we can't understand development without recognizing disorder, any more than you can have a physics without recognizing friction and entropy. I'm not sure that's a real good fit, but it sounded good. The point is, disorder and deep complexity are intrinsic to the human ecology and the human condition. The devil in the details can't be disregarded. Rather, leading scientists from Charles Darwin to Herbert Simon have argued the importance of studying the problems organisms face in interactions with the environments as a crucial step to understanding the mind. To understand development, then, we need more naturalistic study and interpretive analysis of the variety and structure of challenging situations that youth encounter, the real-world puzzles, paradoxes, obstacles in different contexts of their lives, during adolescence and as they move into emerging adulthood. Point 3, positive adolescent development requires knowledge and skills for navigating, dealing with, integrating, balancing heterogeneity and disorder. Many developmental domains, resiliency, maturity, leadership, involve dealing with complex real-world situations, including abilities to integrate or balance diverse, sometimes conflicting, pragmatic, interpersonal, cultural, and other situational considerations. Maturity, for example, involves weighing short versus long-term costs and benefits, resiliency, abilities to accept and adapt to loss, disability, or irresolvable conflict. In sum, the answer for a complex world is a complex mind, flexible, differentiated, contextual, eclectic, with as much higher order integration as can be achieved. So youth needs skills to deal with a disorderly society, but society also desperately needs more youth coming of age with these skills. Point 4, adolescents are active producers of their development. This phrase is at risk of being an empty slogan unless we study it. I provided some glimpses of youth's processes for adapting to a complex world, which may apply to other developmental domains, using executive skills to analyze sequential patterns, weaving personal connections that create meaning and mobilize action, learning not just from random and trial error, but deliberate experiments based on reasoned forecasting. It's essential that we continue to study youth's active, conscious, self-organizing processes, even though they're limited. Point 5, positive development is supported by processes across multiple bioecological systems. The conceit of my talk is that I've zeroed in on use-conscious experiences, but we need to recognize that all the proximal and distal systems that support and influence this positive development. These systems are not just obstacles. Rich Lerner, who's going to be up here shortly, and lots of others have described how all these living systems potentially contribute to youth developmental experiences. I tried to make a chart for youth programs, and I couldn't get the aha experience. Having criticized these charts as being too neat and orderly earlier on, I was inevitable that I would fail. But let me just comment briefly on the role of program leaders in supporting what I've discussed. These leaders were skilled at performing a kind of nifty balancing act between supporting youth experience as agents while providing just enough structure and guidance to keep youth from being blindsided by the worst reality hits, working on challenges that were not too far from their skills, on track with their projects so they had outcomes to learn from, and sometimes helping them interpret the outcomes of their products. Final point is methodological. We need multiple methods of all types. The fact that something can't be measured as a variable is a poor reason to exclude it from study. Quantitative research, especially longitudinal studies, have been a tremendous boon to our knowledge and will continue to be critical. I can't say that enough. I mean, the field has come so far since I joined it. At the same time, there's much about youth interactions with a complex world that we don't know how to measure as variables and may never be able to measure. Key concepts in adolescent development are human constructions, relationships, culture, meaning, ecological systems, and thus are inevitably polyglots, for which measures may be helpful tools, but capture just the tip of a more complex, important iceberg. So for some things we need both. The field of identity, I think, beautifully illustrates, and Niobe Wei's symposium this morning, I imagine, did that. One last comment in terms of statistical methods. Processes that involve balancing, integrating, or reconciling complexity don't lend themselves very well to being modeled with equation unless you have really good measures, like economists do. But even then, well, that's where I started. In sum, today I've tried to make two central points. First, the developmental challenges of adolescence of coming age in a disorderly world are enormous. That needs more recognition and research. Second, despite limitations of the human mind, adolescents have enormous strengths and potentials for learning and development. And I think we have an important role to better understand these potentials, how they develop, and how to support their development, also in better communicating these potentials to the public. Thank you. So I'm sorry there's not time for questions, but I welcome comments or suggestions or things I missed by email or at the reception afterwards. I'm always also looking for collaborators. We're going to take 3 or 4 minutes for people who are part of the award ceremony to come forward and take your places. Everybody else, if you wanted to stand up and stretch for a moment, that would be fine.